Pranam Acharya. I feel I'm in a space where unnecessary wants and desires don't arise anymore. I always feel content and peaceful. Only pain I experience now is when I see all the darkness and unconsciousness around me, and my failure to convince even my close ones to inquire about truth. How is it possible? Words often fail me to explain what is it like to be peaceful, why the mind does not want anymore to be in any days. Why do I not have any desires now, like visiting an exotic place, be it Switzerland or Kailash Mansarovar? People say they notice subtle changes in me, and I find it hard to explain my understanding in words to anyone. In spite of all the failures, I do keep trying. There is no reason, but I feel deep joy when I see even a 0.1% improvement in someone's understanding. Is there anything else I can do other than show my life? Why do I keep feeling that people don't want the truth? They love their illusions, and there is nothing that I can do, so just leave them alone. Alok, it's a spectrum. People belong to all types, all gradations. You cannot, in your enthusiasm, treat everyone as a seeker of truth. Nor can you, in your disappointment, reject the possibility that there do exist some genuine seekers of truth. Similarly, neither you, in your exuberant hope, can say that those who are close to you are already at a point from where they can take off into the spiritual skies. Nor can you, in your frustration, declare that your near and dear ones will never have the willingness or the capacity to come closer to the truth. It's a continuum. It's a continuous spectrum. People are evolving, and different people are at different stages of spiritual evolution. You remember the building with 100 floors that we alluded to? You remember that illusion, Alok? The 100-floor building? Where is the helipad? On the 100th floor. The terrace has the helipad. And it's a jam-packed building, which means that there are people on every floor. And there are more people entering the ground floor. Some are even directly entering the 10th floor, the 20th floor. And then there are people leaving. Where are they leaving from? Some of them leave from the helipad. Others die and crash out. How do people enter? Through the maternity route. That's how they enter the building. It's a 100-floor building, and how do you enter it? Through the maternity route. If you are born, you have entered that building. And different newborns enter that building on different floors. Some newborns might already be on the 95th floor. Very unfair. But what can we do? That's life. So somebody might be born on the 95th floor, and somebody might be born right on the ground floor or first floor. But there is a continuous movement, let me tell you. From lower floors to higher floors, and even from the higher floors to the lower floors. Even that is possible, Alok. It is not an irreversible process. You have to guard your spiritual station. You can even fall down, go down, degrade in a spiritual sense. Don't you people frequently talk of that? You say, when we are with you, Acharya ji, then it's a different story. After you are gone, then from the 70th floor, I'm down immediately to the 30th floor. Go and live at the wrong places for 1 month, and you will find how your floor has changed. So it's always happening. Now, it's a picture depicting a lot of flux. In fact, it should be called a video, because the picture will only capture a moment. You will not be able to quite realize the flux, the constant change, movement. It's a video. If you are so fond of helping, first of all, discover who is at which floor. To a fellow on the 5th floor, you cannot take the Ashtavakra Gita, please. At the same time, you cannot blame the fellow on the 5th floor, because he might actually have been born there. What can he do? He was born like that. And if you take the Ashtavakra Gita to him, you are not doing him a service. It might even be a put-off, a disservice. Ashtavakra Gita is for those who are at least on the 70th floor. So 30 more to go. Now Ashtavakra can help. But it is quite possible that in your zeal and newly found love for Ashtavakra, you take Ashtavakra or Rumi to someone who is in the basement, and he looks at the Ashtavakra Gita and says, how many kilos? To him it is a thing worthy of the scrap market. All he asks for is the weight. If you really want to help people, Alok, why don't you firstly assess them rightly? And don't try to emulate Acharya ji. Just because I make certain things extremely, rather ridiculously simple for you, it doesn't mean that things are ridiculously simple. Things can be extremely complicated. And they are. It is my fault that I simplify them so much for you. It is my fault because I inadvertently end up motivating so many people to try doing what I am doing. They say it must be quite simple. Acharya ji is doing it day in and day night. Day and night, day in and day out, he is doing this. One session in the morning, one session in the evening. Questions come to him and he just answers. So it must be all quite easy. It appears easy, Alok, when I do it. And I'm not trying to boast or promote myself, I'm actually so very arrogant that boasting is a bit of a put off. I'm just trying to answer what you said. I started playing squash last year with a few of the kids from the foundation, and all wanted to improve their game. So on YouTube we started watching the videos of the world champions, Ali Farag, Al Shurbagi, etc. And now those guys are making it appear so cool, so easy, so simple. A flick of the wrist. Wow, what's so easy? You watch it on YouTube and it appears ridiculously easy. So the next day you go and try it out on the court. And Sanjay was complaining that probably the ball that they use is different. He said the ball bounces more in their case. So they get a lot of time to approach the ball and hit it nice and hard and accurate. Somebody said, no, it is about the air conditioning, Their courts are air conditioned. That is why their shots are accurate. People like me, the fat ones, we said, no, it is about the fitness. I am just as skilled as they are. It's just that they run more swiftly. So their game is better. We all cited 100 reasons. But rarely did we want to acknowledge that those guys have worked really, really hard to display the levels of elegance. Simple elegance. Deceptive elegance. Seemingly lazy elegance that they now do. They haven't just done that overnight. One dedicates his life. It's devotion, it's science, it's art, it's skill, it's practice, it's stamina, it's spirituality. Otherwise you will feel frustrated, as probably you already are. On YouTube it appears very simple. You try doing it and then you say, these people, they don't want to understand the truth. They don't want to come close to truth. If they don't want to come close to truth, what is Acharya doing in front of this camera, Alok? Why is he always talking and doing and devising and executing? Why? Surely, all are destined to reach the 100th floor. Surely the helipad is for everyone. But as a counselor, as a friend, as a teacher, I said you have to firstly accurately assess a person's situation and need. And then you discover what would work with a particular individual. And for every person, a different prescription is written. Otherwise, I can have a standard MTM process. Meet the master thing when you all come over to meet me. Why don't I just have one tape? Anybody comes to meet, just run that tape. Because every individual is different, Alok. And not only is an individual different from others, an individual is also different from what he was yesterday and would be tomorrow. So one has to discover his situation real time. One has to attentively find out the constitution, the location, the conditioning of the other's mind. And then one is in a position to offer advice. And then one is in a position to affect change. Quick, revolutionary zeal quickly brings with itself great disillusionment. Surge of energy would always be followed by drop in energy. Like the teenager who sets out to transform the world and very quickly discovers that no one is willing to change. And then he becomes a cynic. He says, this world is better left to itself. Let it go to the dogs. Look at me, I wanted to bring the heavens down to earth and I found no takers. ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है? And what were you initially singing? वीर तुम बढ़े चलो, धीर तुम. By tomorrow morning we will totally revolutionize the world. Overnight. And now? Dunya. I did so much for this. Stupid man. He doesn't listen to me. My advice is 24 karat gold. He does not know how to value it. Alok, if you really love, then you should have infinite patience. You cannot change a person beyond his or her wish. It has to be a consultative process, not a coercive one. You cannot push somebody into freedom. You cannot force somebody into liberation. Hello, you, come here. The fruit vendor. Today I will give you spiritual liberation. And the fellow is saying, Baba, leave me. 2 more apples to sell. And you are saying, no. Before 6 p.m. you have to be liberated. All you will get is bananas. If you try to liberate an unwilling fruit vendor, what do you end up with? Bananas. But then everybody is unwilling to an extent. Even you have been unwilling, Alok. Still Acharya ji goes on and on. So we said love requires a lot of patience. There can be no other genuine reason to try to transform or reform the other. The only genuine reason is love. And if you really do love, then be prepared wait for long. It is a two-way street. In your attempt to reform the other, you find that you have been reformed. It's great what you are wanting and attempting, Alok. But do it like a mature man, not like an impatient schoolboy.
Suppose somebody is falling into the pit, we know the correct.
Then
Okay.
a little bit of force is it. But people are not usually falling into such sudden pits. They are rather steadily going down the slope. That's the thing with the world. If somebody falls into a sudden pit, it's a liberating thing. Why? He will get a shock. And that shock will clear his illusions. The world never allows you to fall into sudden pits. There are supporting mechanisms. You will not be allowed to have a free fall. Instead, what you get is a gradual decline. So you don't get any warning signs. The change is so gradual that you get accustomed to the change. No alarm bells ring. You know of that old story, the frog thing, right? You suddenly raise the temperature, the frog will jump out of the water and save its life. But if you gradually raise the temperature, the frog will not detect that its life is in danger, it will die. That's how it happens with us. But yes, if you, in the rare case, do find that an immediate calamity is looming large upon someone, then in that exceptional case, it might be advisable to use force. Only in that situation. Usually, force is counterproductive. The more you try to force someone, the more he thinks that I have something valuable that the other one is trying to snatch away.
Becomes against us.
Yes. So it's not very wise to try that. Wait. From a distance, keep an eye and wait for the right time to interfere. From a distance, keep getting the news and keep a watch. Time will give you the perfect opportunity to set things right. Don't hurry.